Okay, so I'm giving you an orientation about the supporting materials test. And the point of the supporting materials test is to learn the different types of materials you can use to support the main points, or the subpoints, or the sub-subpoints of your speeches. So they build on each other. And if in this test you keep the same topic that you did before, or you do a pretty decent job in catching up if you have changed your topic, then you should be able to copy-paste stuff from this take-home test into your first draft. So the better a job you do here, the more work you have already done for your first draft. And what is the name of the first draft in this class? Any idea?
The name of the first draft, rough draft, peer draft.
Peer draft, very good. There's nothing rough in this class, and I'm supporting the not rough by having these take-home tests done. Because when we get to the point of the peer feedback draft being due, you have good stuff to work with, and you kind of have been through the struggles, and you're able to just build from there. So the first thing we need is here, 1. What does it say? Sam is good at this.
The title of the informative speech.
Right, and it's the same speech that you used for the outlining test. You might have come up with a catchier title, or, like in the case of Kenny, you have narrowed it down to some specific thing that we're saving on, or in the case of Jacob, you figured out something that you're focusing on. So this might have evolved. I would love for it to be in the ballpark of what you brought to class for your outlining test. So you just write that down. And then 2, this is where things get, the plot thickens. There are many different techniques for supporting materials, and I'm giving you options here. And you need to show me that you understand at least 4 of these. You can choose definition, description, explanation, story, statistic, or analogy. How many are you picking? 4, and they need to be 4 different ones. 4 different types of supporting materials for your informative speech. So in your case, you're talking about marble. What was the word before?
Cultured marble manufacturing.
There you go. So you probably need to define marble. You will write definition of marble, and underneath that, you will write, the way Stephen would say from the stage, the definition of marble. Now, what would you think is a trustworthy source of a definition of marble, other than yourself, Stephen?
Other than myself?
Yeah. Is there like a marble manufacturer's super site? Or expert person in your neighborhood?
I'm an expert.
Yeah, I know, but I'm going beyond you for the sake of this example.
I have, actually, the first shop I ever worked in is in Fort Walton Beach, and it's still there. I could probably go there
Okay.
and do a quick
But you could
interview.
also look it up in something, marble is a kind of a stone, right?
Yeah, it's man-made marble, is what it is.
So you can go to Webster's Dictionary or Encyclopedia Britannica, or,
I don't know if that's in there.
Okay.
I could go to Google.
well, Google is a search engine, and Google is not a source. It
How
will be
about
what you find.
culturemarble.org?
There you go. Okay. So you will write the definition that comes from culturedmarble.org. Was that how that?
Or you
So
should
say,
go to
according to the Cultured Marble website, marble is quote unquote blah blah blah. Okay. Here's my point.
Okay.
You tell me, you all, when you pick your 4 types of supporting materials, you will tell me what it is that you're defining or describing or explaining. So you would write definition of marble, or definition of real estate, or definition of credit, or definition of Jaguar. Now these are not good ideas that I'm throwing at you right now. I needed to actually make it meaningful for the audience to be able to hear these definitions. If we already know what marble is, for heaven's sake, don't put it in there. If we don't know what cultured marble is, so that would be the definition you should go with. That's a new concept for me. I don't know what it is. If one bit me on the leg, I'm not sure I would be able to identify it.
You ever
So-
stay in a motel?
Yes,
The Saints in the showers.
there you go. Good. So that could be the description of cultured marble that you can use later. Okay, give me a heading that tells me what concept it is you're defining. Underneath that heading, you write narrative. You write the way you're going to say it from the stage when you share this definition with us. And if it's not based on your personal experience, you cite your source. So I'm cluing you into the fact that you're going to have to do research over the next week, or else you won't be able to do this test in a passing time.
So
You
do you
repeat that.
underline description? Or do you say
So I would
definition?
write- I would write like this. Definition of, what is the concept you think that you need, Wendy?
Definition of a recession?
Recession? And then, to get started, let's talk about what recession really is. According to Bob, in his book, Recession Stinks, he says, blah, 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 quote unquote. That's what I want. So, the way Wendy would talk from the stage is how she writes the definition of recession. Okay? That's where people make mistakes. They don't tell me what they're defining, so I have to guess. And then they don't write the way they're going to say it. They write essay. And I see these parentheses, Bob, 1992. That's cool in essay. It's not cool for a listening audience. You have to do oral footnotes. Oral as in it comes out of your mouth. And you are writing a speech in conversational tone. And that's why I want TJ to write TJ needs. The way TJ would write, or the way TJ would say his content is now how he writes. So he would be able to copy-paste this into his peer feedback draft, as is, after he's done the speech.
Right, what are the parentheses for? Is that where you write who said it, if somebody said it?
No, that was me saying what not to do. Here?
Oh, I meant the quotation.
Yeah, here. Bob Smith. In his book, blah, blah, blah. The way you will say the
No, but
author's name.
the last part with the quotation. What
This
that?
is the direct quote from, what did Bob say about recession? Recession stinks. Those are the direct quotes from Bob Smith, his book.
So you can put those quotes in.
Yeah,
Okay.
quotes or paraphrasing. I mean, don't forget
Okay.
any rules they already know from how people communicate. So it doesn't have to be direct quote. But oral footnotes means that the source of the information is spoken,
Okay.
so that we hear it. Very, very important. Okay, so definition was one choice. Don't use definition for the test if you don't think that there's a meaningful thing that you need to find, because we already know what you're talking about. Description is another choice. How is description different from definition? Good question. A definition is more concise, and it's the kind of thing that you would find in Webster's dictionary, or you would find in Encyclopedia Britannica. A description could be more like what we heard Stephen say. Have you ever been to a hotel room? It's the thing that you have in the bathroom, right? And he can describe it. It's compared to the marble stone that you'd find in a foundry. It's this thing, or whatever. So you describe what it is. What it is, as opposed to a dictionary definition, which is what you would use here. Another choice is explanation. Explanation is a really valuable supporting materials type. And it's different from description, and I need you to sink your teeth into this test enough for you to know for sure what you write is a description or it's an explanation. What is the difference? A description says what something is, and an explanation says why or how it is. So when Stephen explains how marble is cultivated or cultured or whatever, then that would be an explanation of the process, not a description of the process, and try to figure out what the difference is so we can untangle that.
An explanation of the process, like
How is it extracted, or how is it
made from ground limestone and polyester resin.
that stuff? Yeah.
That stuff.
You would explain how it's done. Or you could have described the process. What is the process? So you have to figure out. And I'm not,
I do
just
that in the
because
explanation.
you pick which 4 of these types you want to deal with, and you make sure that it's something that you think is viable as far as telling us about in the realm of your speech, your 6 to 8 minute speech.
4, 1, 2, 3.
Your next choice
Which
is
four?
story.
Which 4?
4 types. I want 4 specific examples for this test.
Okay.
I'm giving you the options, and right now I'm talking to you about the options they have.
We have 6 options, yeah?
There's 6 total options.
Okay.
I'm giving you pick 4. Very good, Jane. Thank you. I'm moving on. Another option you have is story, Chris. Do you have a story that goes with your topic that you think you're focusing on? Not right now? No. Danny, do you have a story about your love affair for Jaguars? You remember the first time you saw a Jaguar? Yeah, it's not super clear right now. Jane, Wendy, do you have a story that goes with being a real estate person?
Yes, I don't have it in my head. I mean,
Not even,
yes,
I'm
I
not
mean,
going to ask you for it now,
right,
but
yes.
you might see how a story could fit. And it might not be about your personal story as a real estate person, but it might be about this person that did a horrible mistake
right.
with something that deals with your topic. So a story is always good because it brings in humanity, especially if you compare it to statistic. Statistic actually makes a pattern visible so we understand how many people. But a story would talk about one specific person or group of people, or the consequences of the statistic. So you can tell a story, like maybe Jeremy, first time you went with your dad to work in the business or something, or when you realized, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. That story. Jacob?
For a story, could you explain how you're now provoked and what you would...
Yeah, if you write it as a story, and because that sounds like an explanation. You could use what you said as an explanation. But a story in... What happened here? Stephen. Don't break it. There you go. A story, by definition, in public speaking, has a beginning, middle, and an end. So it's not just anecdotal stuff that you throw into this test. You actually have to have a beginning, middle, and an end of the thing that you're sharing. And that's a big deal. Statistic, I know that as soon as someone says a statistic, I put on some kind of snooze button in my brain. But they are important. Statistics are very important because they're the unique thing where they can put patterns together, data together, and it becomes a concrete number. Right? And you have all these options for how to show a statistic with pie charts or bar graphs, and we can understand things differently because we're using that supporting material. So don't shy away. If you're talking about the number of people that go bankruptcy because of credit card debt, the number of people that are going they go from owning a house to foreclosure to rental, that would be statistics that would be valuable for you if you go in that route. So don't shy away, try to find it. And when you find it, you need to understand what the number means, otherwise you can't explain it to us. Another option, the last option, and probably one of the most difficult ones, is analogy. An analogy, according to your textbook, it basically says it's comparing one thing to the other because they are similar in some regard, or they're dissimilar in some regard. That simplifies the concept. An analogy is a poetic way of helping us understand something based on something we already understand, but the way that you explain it now in comparison makes it easier for us to understand this new concept. So when someone says a hurricane is like a car engine, it heats off, it gets energy from hot water, and then it spins like this and it keeps going. It's more poetic than saying a skyscraper is a tall building like a giraffe is tall compared to a donkey. It doesn't work, So this one can be hard, but some of you have those sorts of brains that can figure out an analogy when you have to deal with some difficult concept. And we need to understand it, like recession. What is recession like? The easy way, the non-poetic way, would say the recession we are experiencing is like the depression of the Dust Bowl. Well, that's just a comparison. That is not poetic. It's not quite there. But if there's some other concept in our lives that we can relate it to, and you can put it in a poetic term, you have an analogy.
So an analogy is like a comparison, but explaining how more is like.
If you have a concept that you need to have us understand, and it's complicated, but you can simplify our thought process in understanding it, because there's something else we already understand, and you can draw the parallels, bingo, it's where it's at. So how many of these do you have to write out for next Friday?
4.
4, yes, and I want a variety of them, not 4 definitions, I want 4 different ones. And where is it possible to lose points on this?
Everywhere.
Everywhere, but mostly people don't write the way they will speak. People get into essay mode. You think, you're taking it as a task, and you say, okay, I have to write a definition. I'm Googling it, I find Wikipedia, which by the way is not a legit source of information.
That's true.
You can use it
Or
for your own purpose to see the lay of the land, but then you go away from there. I cannot hear you say Wikipedia on stage, okay? It cannot happen. Yes, Jane?
Do you want us to write it out verbatim as we're gonna say it?
Exactly.
But sew it all together so it
Yeah.
flows up.
So,
It doesn't have
one
to be
at
in
a
order, but it
time.
does it.
So you're doing
Correct.
definition, everything done with that.
We
move
number
on.
them 1, 2, 3, 4, and then what we're using, and then our content of it underneath
I think
that.
you have it correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope it.
And then if we go underneath there, you see how it says 3 here, testimony?
Yep.
I need you to interview at least 1 person for your speech, and that means that you communicated with a real person. I don't care if you do it face-to-face or text or phone, but it needs to be 1 specific person that you have contact with. And I want to know by next Friday who that's going to be. Who's your number 1? Maybe who's your number 2, because that number 1 person might be difficult to get a hold of. And I want you to be very optimistic. And I want you to dream wild, crazy dreams. When I was in grad school the first time around, there was a God in my life. In my academic life, there was a God. His name was Michael Page, and he was a professor at the University of Minnesota. He had came up with this theory about intercultural communication that was so phenomenal. It was like I would have my papers under my pillow at night, and I would dream fancy thoughts. And well, what are the chances that I could communicate with him?
No.
Well, if I'm not optimistic, none, But one day I had double margaritas and I got to my keyboard. It's not true, I wasn't drunk. I went to my keyboard and I found his email address at the University of Minnesota, and I wrote a very eloquent letter. Hey, what's going on? I'm doing this on my thesis, and do you know anybody else who's doing it? Do you think this is a good idea? Send. How many minutes did it take for him to respond?
They never did.
5 minutes.
Oh, really?
My God responded to me in 5 minutes. For some people it takes longer, but for me it took 5 minutes. So dream big. When you're dealing with some specific, you've narrowed down your topic and I need someone to explain this. I need an expert to explain this concept. It's not good enough if I do it. And you find an article where an expert is cited with the name and they wrote some book. Give it a shot. Give that a shot. I had a student who was doing pork barrel spending as her topic, and she emailed 5 politicians after this speech that I just gave you. She emailed 5 politicians about pork barrel spending. And this was summer term, so it was really fast, Express is crazy. And for 2 weeks, she was like walking into class with this thundercloud over her head. And she was, they never respond, politicians suck, blah, blah, blah. I said, give it time. The next day she came and she was like on cloud 9. She was like sweeping in, over the floor. She wasn't even hitting the floor when she was walking. All 5 of the different politicians' offices had responded, and she had confirmed that 3 of the responses were the actual politicians, not their secretaries. She was so excited. She was crazy excited. So it happens. Now you have to be smart. When we did the BP oil spill as the theme, there was a specific female physician that was very much involved with the physical symptoms of the BP oil spill. She was the national spokeswoman for those medical symptoms, and my student sent her an email, hey, can I ask you questions? And she said, yes, you can. then the window was gone. What should the student have done?
Should have incorporated the question in
Yes.
the first email.
Yeah, you might have one shot, and you want that shot to be glorious, so that you can help the people help you. So send the questions immediately. Go ahead.
The person, we just gotta have the person who we're gonna interview picked out.
Yeah,
We
I
don't
would
have to have
love for it if you've already talked to them, but I'm really only asking for who the heck it is.
What kind of information do you want from them?
What do you think?
About my topic?
Yeah, there you go. Bing, bing.
I know as much as, I probably know more
Okay,
than she
what
does.
you're doing for this academic exercise is to show me that you can use other people to build up credibility of your topic. This is not Stephen's topic about cultivated marble. It's about
Cultured marble.
Stephen learning how to use sources and oral footnotes in his speech. You're using other people to support your main points.
Okay, thank you.
You get a chance to say in your introduction how awesome you are at this already, and that will help you as a speaker in the room, but you need to still support your main points with
Or a footnote.
information from other people. Yeah.
Thank you.
So it would say testimony, you would put number 3, testimony from this person.
Bob Smith,
And then you would, in the next line, you would go into what the conversation was?
I actually don't need the transcript yet. It says make plans for the interview immediately, and not at any point in the semester do I need a transcription. You will treat what you get from Bob just like you would treat any book or any website. It doesn't become that when you talk to Bob about a Jaguar, that is another main point in your speech. Anywhere your source fits is where it fits. It could be your attention getter, it could be main point number 2. It doesn't matter. Stephen?
You don't need the transcript of the interview.
Nope.
You just need me to put like
Who do you think you're going to talk to?
Martha Green.
There you go, Martha Green. And I want to
Diana
talk to
Marble
her
from
about,
Long Beach, Florida.
she's going to explain to me the process of selling this, or whatever. I don't know what she's going to do.
But then later on, do I have to have that actual?
You will never ever need a transcript of
Okay.
the interview. I need you to find information in the interview that you're using in your informative speech. The test is, was the interview such that it was actually meaningful stuff that came out of it? If it didn't, then you need to probably call someone else. I don't know. She sounds like a great person to talk to. Jacob, does your mother use couponing?
No?
No?
Yeah,
Yeah, a little?
yeah.
Maybe ask her about coupons.
Okay.
So that's number 3. And then we have discussion questions, and we were pretty lame today about discussion questions. What do you think your focus should be on the discussion questions for this test? Of
What would you?
supporting materials, please. Today you could have asked me, is it better to do chronological pattern than topical pattern than problem solution pattern? Do I have to stick to one? That didn't come up in conversation today. And that could mean that you don't know what I'm talking about, especially if you didn't read the chapters. I need you to read the chapters, and I need you to have your brains fully on when you're reading. So whatever it is, because I know, for instance, that some of you are going to have conniption fits around the time when you're sitting there with this pile of research and go, what do I do with it? Let me just procrastinate. I don't think I should come to class on Friday because I'm not prepared, because I don't know what to do with this pile. Kenny, what should they do with the pile?
Burn it.
Burn it? No. They should go through it, organize it in little different piles, see what's still good, see what they need to know more about, be proactive, take notes. That's what they should do. So discussion questions that either help you understand supporting materials better, or that has to do with your specific supporting materials that you think are good or not good. And then if you understand supporting materials, what are questions you can ask your classmates so you get further along in your understanding about supporting materials. Know how about the embrace, and there will be no silence next time. I'm going to pick on you, and I don't like picking on people. I like people to just bring the energy and say, I have a question! Right? Right. Cool. Okay, what should we do next?
Go Sweden.
Go to so far. You're gonna have to do research, Zach.
You want us to, you said to switch up to 4, right? They don't take, 4 the same thing?
So
For
4,
description, like, don't pick 4 description.
oh, 4 of these, yeah. You
Yeah.
pick 4 of the 6 options.
Okay.
There are more options in the universe, but these are the most viable ones, so I'm giving you the most likely to succeed types to pick
And we
from.
have to pick 4 different ones.
4 different ones,
Okay.
yes, Kenny.
And how long, like, roughly how long are they supposed to be?
It's a page and a half or so.
Of each?
No, total,
Okay.
total, this test.
Page and a half of
Page and a half.
these 4 things?
Yeah, it's double spaced. Jane and I talked about it.
Right.
And just like we did today, you walk in the door with your best foot forward, and then if we have to fix something, we fix it. So obviously you have to bring your research in your well-organized binders.
That's right.
The best places to look for information right off the top of your head are
I think.
Crash Course, Pensacola State is hosting something called Cash Course. I think it might have been in your schedule already, but I want you to Google Cash Course Pensacola State. And they offer a portal for a lot of information about money matters. I know credit cards are in there. I know buying a house is in there. Rental might be in there. Financial aid stuff is in there. So there's some, go fish there and see what's going on. Another one is Money Matters. Research guide. This is a special portal, a research guide in the library, on the library website, and it's catering to you specifically, who's in classes that have to do with money matters. And there's stuff there that the librarian and I and other people have collected for your benefit. And when you find something really super cool about money that you think other people should be able to take advantage of, you simply email the librarian and say, please put that into Money Matters Research Guide. This is the same sort of portal that you would have overall from the library, you know, when you go find articles and books. And you know, you can't rely on Google for all this information. I needed to think academically, so find some journal articles, attack a librarian, maybe not physically, but walk into the library and say, I'm doing this topic, can you help me? And that's their jobs, that's why we have them, and they're very, very good. After that, you can Google Jacob. No, never mind. Okay, I need to talk to you about delivery. I have like 15 minutes?
You got like 14 minutes.
14 minutes, great. Okay, Wendy, you can turn off the camcorder. Okay, when it comes